God, this script was meant to be really positive, but it's become an absolute train wreck now, thanks to last night. Cheers for that, Game Freak, you've done an absolute bang-up job with this new game. Finally, Pokémon Sword and Shield got information on the 5th of June, which I aimed to beat with my last discussion dive explaining my hopes just so I could review over the progression of the game's creation. Now, the Nintendo Direct and the free day one have happened, so I can start here. They kept Pokémon spawning in, which I wanted in my video, but made it even better by giving us an open world zone instead of routes to find Pokémon in, which I love and gives opportunities for more hidden areas and more mechanics. And they monopolised on the opportunity for mechanics by adding in weather, which based on what we see affects the Pokémon spawns, which is awesome. And they also return day and night cycles, which will also have a similar effect and potentially affect evolutions within the new Pokémon for the region. Something that makes me sad is during that segment, we see the bike being used, so we currently have no guarantee or insight that your Pokémon will be rideable or can follow you like in Let's Go, which is a shame and something I hope we will get back as a feature. We also got a look into the raid battles being integrated into these games, and a new mechanic which at first I just assumed was how Pokémon in the raids are significantly bigger. But then...
It looks like Godzilla, but due to international copyright laws, it's not.
Still, we should run like it is Godzilla!
Though it isn't.
Like all the other recent games, a new mechanic is showing up called Dynamax, which turns any Pokémon gigantic for 3 turns. Game Freak, my shiny Mega Rayquaza was broken enough. Want me to Dynamax it too? It's pretty balanced in the fact it's a once per battle mechanic for 3 turns, but use it on the right Pokemon and people will get a real headache. But if you restrict it on certain Pokemon, then you restrain our player freedom. Plus, it would be really bizarre to get rid of other previous mechanics like Mega Evolution and Z-moves despite previous games show those mechanics return, so there is nothing stopping them all being used and all being very broken when used together. I also love they are throwing in not just competitive play for multiplayer interaction this time around, and we can actually go into encounters as a 4-man team. It's a refreshing change and opens up a lot of extra playtime for us all, instead of just IV grinding or shiny grinding to push a save to over 100 hours. I am aiming to personally use this function a lot, and it makes me glad I have the Nintendo subscription. I just hope they won't restrict encounters too much in the wild zones with the region exclusive Pokémon. I can understand making a condition for getting Pokémon from other generations through something like this, but I feel all the region exclusive Pokémon should be found freely in the game. In E3, they showed the raid battles and group interaction gameplay live, which it looks great, and will definitely be a feature I'm looking forward to doing with my actual friends, as well as some of the wonderful people I've met through this community and online. During the Direct, I was pretty surprised to see they introduced us to the champion already. Leon, who had a Charizard behind him in one clip too, so we know that's one of his team Pokemon already. Then we meet his younger brother, Hop, who looks like a nice rival. Also, they specified on one of your rivals, so we will be getting more than one maybe. So, we have yet to see the potential others. We see our professor of the region, Professor Magnolia, whose name is based on a flowering tree, or just a flower in general, and her assistant, her granddaughter Sonia, who has stupid hair and has a European name which is tied to Sophia, which means wisdom. And then we get a look at a child-faced grass gym leader called Milo, and in the E3 conference, we see the water-type gym leader. Now to the Pokémon, since I want to look into the legendary Pokémon first before going into the others we see. We finally get our legendary wolves that each look awesome, but I have no idea what their names are references to in any British folklore, so these might just be originally created beasts versus being based on some sort of folklore or myth. Both, despite being wolves, are very unique in body type and design, with inverted colour schemes between the blue and red. Zacian is a thinner beast with a scarf-like tendril coming down from its cheeks and wings protruding from its back, despite I doubt they'll work like wings and are just decorative. Meanwhile, Zamazenta is bulky and has wings integrated into its shield basis at the front of its body, and a cape created from sections of its hair on its head, which creates a paladin-like appearance for the shield beast. Zamazenta, to me, bears some similarities to Solgaleo. Both Zacian's and Zamazenta's colour schemes are based on the Union Jack, with the main colours being white, blue, and red. And I think the blade in Zacian's mouth could also be a reference to the blade Excalibur. Though, something interesting in that short clip is the leaves moving and the gust of wind sets them both off ready to battle. Like they are both targeting the same enemy. It leads me to believe we are going to see conflicting legendaries, with one of which being either Zacian or Zamazenta depending on the game version we get, and then another legendary we haven't seen since. I doubt it could be just some ordinary Pokemon that would put these legendary Pokemon on edge. It would have to be something they perceive as a threat. Now to the normal Galar Pokemon, which we were introduced to. Some are really fitting for this region, considering it is based on the United Kingdom, and I am already satisfied with what I saw. So let's go in order. Wooloo is adorable. Me and everyone I've seen on Twitter loves it so much. Though I've seen some brilliant memes for it too, like making it a giant floof through Dynamaxing, or making it a shepherd's pie. Sheep are an animal I see often when I travel just slightly out of the town I live in. And like I mentioned in the other video with how the countryside is accurate for near where I live, in those areas there are plenty of fields used for livestock, which include sheep, pigs, cows and horses. So I'm expecting to see other livestock get Pokemon based on them. Then there is Gossifleur and its evolution, Eldegoss. Gossifleur has a vibrant and beautiful colour scheme, which I don't think has been used before, though I wouldn't be able to tell you what flower it is a reference to. Next up is Deadnaw, which is a snapping turtle, which isn't a Pokemon we've seen before, but this creature isn't based on anything found in the UK at all. Now to my favourite. I love Skarmory, but this Pokemon has beaten Skarmory down. Corviknight is a perfect Pokemon for this region, and has an amazing typing only used once before in Skarmory, which is Flying and Steel. That typing is incredibly balanced as well. Ravens and crows are very common where I live, and along the countryside in this country, and they have many stories and literature around them, such as Bran the Blessed in Welsh folklore being a primordial deity of sorts and a guardian of Britain whose totem is a raven. A Scottish tale tells of an evil hag who appeared in the form of numerous birds, including the raven, and feasted on men's bodies. And then there is Arthur, who is a British guardian, and in Cornwall it is believed he never died and instead turned into a raven. This country also has a history with knighthood, like most of Europe. The design of this bird is amazing. It is essentially wearing a chestplate and helmet that blends in with its feathers. Its feathers also form shoulder guards of sorts on the upper section of its wings. Also, it's amusing to me, they are going to be given perches in the towns and cities in the game where they can act as your Uber.
Fuck you!
I will probably have this awesome Mon on my team, though the taxi function makes me worried you can't fly on your own Pokemon, and fast travel will be limited to the services provided in-game instead of a player being able to obtain them at any point. Also in E3 we got 2 new Mons, one which has a unique typing not seen in the series before, which is Dark and Fairy, and one which is a Corgi, like I hoped for. So maybe the Queen will be battleable, we can only hope. Now all of that is out of the way, I'm going to pick Pokemon Sword as my main game, though I aim to get the dual pack to celebrate this vast improvement in Pokemon and the use of my home being in the games finally as a region. I have complaints about the current box art though, where they drew Zacian and Zamazenta in an overly cartoony style. Why couldn't you just use the official art, Game Freak, like you did for all the other Pokemon installments? Their official art looks so much better. Though, if you really want to impress us, why not take a hint from the cover in the side games on how it's done? Make actual scenery and interaction art the focal point of the game covers, like it is for the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon series and the Pokemon movies. They are far more engaging and eye-catching than just a single Pokemon on a single coloured or gradient background. Though, I suppose this is just a preference. I am really happy with what we got to see in the Nintendo Direct, and myself and many others guessed the release date. I also aim on setting up events with subscribers who join the Discord so I can organise with them, or maybe on Twitter as well. I'm also preparing for that event now. The thing is, up until yesterday, that was the only real complaint I had. I had faith in Pokemon Home until yesterday. Masuda shafted that hope and shot his own team in the foot by saying only Pokemon in the Galar Dex can be transferred up, which is retarded, and I don't agree with this choice at all, and there is no justification for it, which I've heard the 2 reasons for it, and neither of them are good enough. One was for game balance, to which I say these games have never been balanced, and any Pokemon that aren't were designed by you and are now loved by countless people, so why should our experience be screwed so you can police the problem you created? And the other was development time, over creating unique walk cycles for over 800 Pokemon. Well, if you're worried about the amount, why not create a story-based game instead of a collectathon so you don't need to keep adding to the number so excessively? Tough shit, Game Freak, you did this to yourselves! And myself and many other fans are willing to wait so you could just delay the game. These reasons aren't good ones, and the fact they've done this shows they don't understand their fanbase at all. You've made Pokemon Home redundant to your entire fanbase. I definitely won't be paying for it. When I can't bring forward all the stuff I want to, which I care about, I'll probably use the previous generation for competitive still. I've seen some pretty tragic stories on Twitter of people who have had Pokemon from family and friends who are now dead, and it's something of theirs they keep with them, and that makes me mourn for them and makes me glad I don't have that amount of sentimental attachment to my Pokemon. But I did grow up with the series and cared about what I was doing. I want to keep my progress and childhood intact. Plenty of people have cancelled their orders on Pokemon Sword and Shield now, and I don't blame them. I haven't done this because I still aim to share the experience here on this channel, and because I've waited so long for a region based on my home to be in the series. But believe me, I am not happy. And on Twitter, that much is shown by all the stuff I've been retweeting and liking. I am very unimpressed with Game Freak, and I hope they will sort this mess.
Let me see what you have!
No!